For those that don't know me, my name is Braden Petty. I'm one of the account managers here at Outfield. For today's session, we're primarily going to be covering two pages in Outfield. One is the dashboards page that you can find under the Performance Plus section in Outfield. The second page we'll transition over to is going to be what's called ISO Intel, which is a new reporting and visualizations extension that we've rolled out here a few months ago. And so we'll get into the details and weeds of that as well. Throughout today's session, if you have any questions, feel free to shoot those in the chat. We'll be monitoring that throughout today's session and make sure that we take a pause every once in a while here to make sure that we're answering all of those questions. Additionally, if you see anything that catches your eye that you'd like to learn a little bit more about on a future call and just better understand how that can be applied to your team's application, feel free to reach out to your account manager, or if you're new to Outfield, feel free to reach out to our support team or your account executive. We'd be happy to hop on a call and explore a little bit further about how this can bring value to your team. So without further ado, let me go ahead and start sharing my screen here. Now you should be looking at an empty dashboards page. And as I mentioned, this is going to be housed under the Performance Plus section in Outfield. Just under Goals and Achievements, you'll see a dashboard option. And so from here, I'm going to go ahead and click Add Dashboard. A little bit behind what this page includes, it's a way to get kind of like a snapshot into your team's activity. And there's a couple of different ways that we can visualize that and compare that to previous periods. And so for this dashboard, you can create multiple. And so for today's example, we're going to do a productivity dashboard. And as I click into this dashboard box type, we have a few different options that we can choose from. Things like revenue, if we're tracking that in Outfield, accountability, productivity, pipeline, and a few others, which I will get into. For this first box, I'm just going to go ahead and click productivity. And as you can see, there's no additional options here to further make changes to this specific box. Outfield already kind of provides some of that on the back end, and this is going to be tracking all of the interactions that are happening over a specific period and compare that to previous ones. And we'll see that here in just a second. Now you can add multiple boxes here. I'm going to go ahead and click a couple of additional ones. If you're leveraging the deal pipeline, you can get some analytics on that front as well. Additionally, you can do anything from a form field. So if you're tracking maybe something like samples, I can go in here and navigate through my forms, and let's do form or sample response. Okay. And I meant to mention this previously. Today's session will be primarily using my demo account for navigating these pages. So all of the data and information will look a little bit different from what you're seeing for your specific accounts. Lastly, for example, let's do something from the performance system action. And this is going to be anything that's in your league play or goals. You're able to pipe in here as well. So let's do something like check-ins. I just want to track the number of check-ins my team is doing. Let's stick with the Toon Squad. As you can see up here in the top right, we've got Bugs Bunny running the session. And let's just track all check-ins that are completed. So from here, I'm going to click just Save Dashboard. And that's going to upload all of these kind of widgets for me. And again, this is going to give me a snapshot into what's happening for my on my team's account over a specific period. So to point out up here in the top right, what we're comparing is this week compared to last week. Okay, we can adjust this to look at a monthly view or more of an annual view and get year-over-year metrics here. And so let's just dive into to what these boxes entail. So this productivity is going to be tracking all touch points. And when I say touch point, that means anything that includes a check-in, phone calls, emails, or text messages. And so here, just this week alone, we're up 1,200% higher than last week. Maybe last week we had a couple reps who were off, on PTO or anything like that. A lot of increase here this week. Taking a look at the deals pipeline, we're up to 250% over compared to last week. You can see what those metrics looks like as well. Down here under the sample response, these are specific form responses that we can gather on my sample form. And so we can get the changes for each response there, as well as, just check-ins alone. Rather than tracking all touch points, maybe I just want to see what our in the field presence looks like and compare that. When I click over to something like, this month rather than this week, I can now, rearrange the view and what I'm comparing to on a previous period. So let's see if this goes ahead and loads. And again, the kind of the heart behind this is to give you that snapshot, right? You don't have to go super deep into all the analytics to find this information. This should give you a pretty good picture, which will guide conversations and insights about what the team is doing out in the field. So here, productivity is telling us a little bit different story rather than a weekly basis, right? Our in-person presence is actually lower than last month. Maybe we understand why that is, or maybe that'll guide a conversation with our sales team out in the field. From here on each box, you'll also see a little view chart button. And when I click into that, that's going to take me over to our analytics page specific to what we're tracking here. So when I click on the productivity view chart, now it'll take me over to the analytics page, right to my productivity. And there's a host of different things you can do on this page, which a previous one of our webinars, if you wanted to learn a little bit more, you can go take a look there. Obviously, you can filter all of this information and get quite a few different views in terms of the data that you're looking at here. So if you see anything in this snapshot that you want to learn a little bit more, you can click that view chart and go check it out on the analytics page. Additionally here, you can add multiple dashboards. So maybe I have a productivity dashboard, then I also want to have a sales dashboard on top of that, where we can, track more, figures and metrics that are specific to sales. I can do so as well. Again, like I mentioned, if you're tracking revenue in Outfield, you can get the, trends there. Accountability will be, checking in terms of on-site versus off-site percentage while out in the field. The last thing I wanted to touch on before moving on here is going to be what's called the third-party option. This is where it'll allow you to take, information from a third-party platform. Maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet, or if you're using a third-party reporting system or analytics tool, you can plug that information right here. So you can house, different types of metrics and visualizations all on one screen. And so, here we can see we support things like Power BI, Tableau, and Domo. We can also, check with other options as well. With that, I want to just take a pause and see if there's any questions in the chat before moving on. And if anything comes to mind here, feel free to throw that in the chat right now. Perfect. Sweet. Well, again, feel free to throw those in there. If if something comes to mind later on, we'll be sure to circle back on this dashboards page. With that, let's transition over to our ISO Intel tool. Now, this is going to be a page that looks quite different from our other pages in Outfield. So I'm going to start by just navigating what we're seeing on the screen here. To the left, we'll see a host of different dashboards. Now, this is all customized, and we've input this on our team. And you can, include different types of visuals and have different dashboards for the information that you're wanting to see here. We'll spend the majority of our time here just in the Toon Squad reporting dashboard. That's going to be for my demo team's information. And as this continues to load here, at the top, what these little boxes are, these are going to be filters where we can start to filter down our visuals and reports that we have currently set up. Things like the date range, we can get really specific here. I have it defaulted to the last 12 months, but you can do, break it down into weeks and days. If you want to look at a specific, static period, X date to Y date, you can do that as well. You can also do relative periods. So maybe the last, 4 or 5 weeks, maybe the last quarter, something like that. You can get really granular with that date range. Additionally, here are a couple of other options. Let me go ahead and try to refresh my page here and see if that'll help me out in terms of the loading. And while that loads, just here in the top right, we have a couple of additional buttons. The first one is going to be the edit tool, which I'll get into here in a bit, where you can actually, go in and customize all of this information specific to what you would like. You can also adjust permissions of who has access to this dashboard. If you maybe want to allow your, some other admins and managers to view, and you'd rather not have, sales reps have full access, you can do that here under the share option. You can also do that on a dashboard to dashboard basis. So maybe you have an admin dashboard and then another dashboard specific to the sales team. You can make those changes there. Here under the three dots here, we can see that there's some, exporting tools and alerts that can also be used in Outfield, in the ISO Intel tool. So as this continues to load, I'll start kind of trending through the different, examples that I have set up. While this team activity continues to load here, I'm going to kind of drill in here on the rep activity visual that I've set up. Now we can see that there's a host of different data points that we have included here. We can break down all of our reps activity here based off of, their check-ins and what different activity types they're doing. We can also cross-reference this with, understanding the time that they're actually spending out in the field. And we can really get an understanding of, what is our efficiency? How long are our check-ins taking? What's the ideal number, and how do we get closer to that metric? And I can scroll through here and understand the differences in our reps. Clearly, Rachel Green is taking a lot less time for each of her visits, while Lola Bunny is up to 25 minutes. What's the difference there? What can I learn from this information and guide to get the best results for my organization? Additionally, I've included things for more on the phone call side. If there's, maybe some more inside sales workflows in terms of communicating via phone call, we can do things like that time tracking as well and understand the average time per phone call here. As I scroll back up here to my team activity, we can see, breakdown. Maybe I have a couple of different teams in my Outfield instance, and I can break down all of this information of what's the, total activity numbers over this time period, maybe phone calls. And then I can also kind of, bring in some sales data and understand the effectiveness of those teams in terms of the revenue that they're bringing in for my organization. All of this would be, impacted by the filters that we have set up. The other two filters I have, you can filter this down by specific team members if you would like, as well as default fields. Now this is going to look a little messy, but as a reminder, what default fields are in Outfield, it's a way to categorize your places in activity specific to your business. And so if you maybe break things down on like a tier ranking, right, you can include that here. And now, if I just want to see my tier A accounts and how are we, how is the Channel 4 News team doing in terms of making sure that they're in front of our A accounts. And so you can filter that a little bit further. Additionally, we're able to drill down on some of this information. When I click on the Tune Squad, that's going to add an additional filter up here in the top, and then filter all of the rest of my visuals by what I've clicked on. So now when I look at my team reps, I'm only seeing Tune Squad reps. So now I'm getting a really specific view for my reps. As I scroll down, a couple of other examples here where we can really start to tie, the activities that our team is doing and the interactions out in the field, and tie that to revenue. They're right, assign a value to each of those touch points. And so here I've got a visualization set up for, what is the number of activities per month or interactions compared to the revenue that we're bringing in that month. And now I can start to, build and understand the relation between those two. And clearly on this page, we can see, number of interactions clearly has an impact on the revenue that we're bringing in here. And we can, maybe go back to what happened in August of 2024, right? I can even click on that and get some additional insights here. You can, maybe just drill in on the date range as well and just look specifically to that month as well. Let me take that back off. Over here on the right side, I've set up a visual or a table that basically takes this same information, but breaks it down by one of my default fields, right? My territories that I have set up. So now not only am I understanding over a time period what is our revenue and the value per touch point, but now I can see, what our territory looks like. What are the differences? What can I learn from this information? And so here under the East territory, right, we see that the value per touch point is around $1,500. That's maybe a decent metric for my team. This is the total revenue that we've gathered, as well as the number of touch points. If I look down over here in the West territory, we see that those numbers are pretty inflated compared to the East. So now maybe this will, guide some of my, understandings and discussions moving forward of what are we doing in the West that is so impactful and different from the East, and how can we learn from that to ultimately, earn better success and production in across my territory here. Again, this is all customizable, right? I've gone in and adjusted and created these visuals. And so from here, before I actually get into the editing side of things, when I kind of hover over one of these visuals, you'll see this little bubble here with the 3 dots. When I click into that, there's a couple of different interactions that I can do with all of these visuals. Other than just drilling down on a specific metric, I can actually export this data right from here into an Excel or CSV format. And so that when I click export to Excel, that's going to give me a downloadable file, which then I can do, whatever I would like, or send that to whoever. Maybe they don't even have access to Outfield's platform. Additionally, we can schedule some alerts. So for example, maybe over here for the revenue per month, maybe I want to set an alert for myself. I have a goal of 843,000 per month. Whenever the revenue is tracked and actually gets beyond that number, it'll send me an alert and a notification, a custom notification, which I can adjust what I'm actually being sent here. And so now I'm actually being prompted. I don't even have to go to this dashboard. I'm already having it work for me to send information that is necessary to my team. Additionally, we can also schedule reports. So maybe I want to have this report sent to me in a regular cadence over time. I can do that. When I click schedule report, you can adjust the title. Maybe I want this every single Friday, weekly on Friday at a specific time. I'm sending it via email to my demo account here. I can adjust the subject. I can put a little message in there. I can also, decide whether I want to send it Excel or CSV and things like that. So again, I'm going to let this set it and repeat. I don't even have to go back in here and always manually set these exports and reports that are being sent my way. And then if I ever want to just, review what alerts and exports that I have set up under the 3 dots here, I can go in and show alerts. So anything that I have set up would show here. Additionally, those scheduled reports here, I can see anything that I have set up just across my organization. Lastly, here in terms of exporting and getting this information off of Outfield, you can also export the entire dashboard to by PDF to your email. And so when I click export to PDF, it's going to take a snapshot of my entire dashboard, and then I can do with that what I would like as well. And so it's rather than just a visual by visual, cadence, I can send the entire dashboard all at once. I'm also able to save as new, and I can basically copy and paste this over if I want to have maybe a different dashboard for each rep or region that would kind of assist in some of that setup there. Let me take a pause really quick and see if there's any questions. I know I covered a lot of information there. And feel free to toss those again in here whenever. It's not looking like there's any questions at the moment, so I can continue to move on. One thing before getting into the editing side of ISO Intel is when we do a trial or when a team rolls out ISO Intel, Outfield will assist in setting all of this up. Like I mentioned, and it's obvious, it looks a little foreign, it looks a little different from our other pages in Outfield. Our team will, make sure that your team is supported and set up for success on the platform. We can get you started with some of these visuals like I have set up here, and then we'll make sure that everyone's trained up and again, prepared for success on this platform to get the most value possible. So with that, let me go ahead and click the edit button. And so the page is going to shift a little bit, and we have some additional things or interactions that we can have with this page. Towards the top left, we can see all of the different items that we can add or change to this page. The first one is visualization, filter, a visualization switcher, and then just some rich text as well. Also in this column, we can see some saved visualizations. And again, this would allow me to, rinse and repeat if I want to, make a couple of adjustments, but not start from scratch. I can, recover any of my other previously created visualizations to give me a good structure at the start. So with that, let me go ahead and grab one of these visualizations. A lot of the editing in here is going to be just a grab and drag, a drag and drop method here. So let me grab a visualization. I can drop this wherever I would like. I'm going to go here and scroll to the bottom and create a new section in my Toon Squad reporting dashboard. And from here, I know it looks like a lot. There's a lot of information here. Do not be intimidated. Again, we'll set you up for success and assist in getting you set up. Just to highlight on a couple of these points, over here on the left column, this is going to be all of the data points that Outfield has stored in our database. And it's going to look a little, messy, maybe a little confusing. We'll definitely walk through that. Here in this box is where all of the different types of visualizations that we can create, things like a table, right? Bar graphs, line graphs. You can do things like a bubble chart, right? You can get really, granular and custom with what you're looking at as well. Just below this, we'll see the different metrics and information that you can bring in here, specific rows. You can always configure all of this data as well. And then at the top here, right, you can go ahead and title this. So for this example today, let's go ahead and say that, Bugs Bunny, we're wanting to track prospecting and where we're at now and where we want to be moving forward. This quarter in 2025, we've got to focus on knocking on new doors and expanding our business. And so what I'm going to do is name this prospecting. Okay. And from here, I think for this application, let's go ahead and create a line chart here. It looks like maybe we have a chat. Let me go ahead and see in here. So the question here is, I assume on the left side there are all dashboards you created. How do you see that list view? All I see is a tile of dashboards. When I click on dashboards on my end, it takes me. Oh, I see. Okay, perfect. Tim, give me 1 second, then I'll hop back over to that page and get your question answered for sure. But those are great questions. My apologies. Sorry about this, having a little technical difficulties here. Okay. My apologies. Okay, we are back. Sorry for that. Okay, so yeah, like I said, Tim, I will definitely cover those dashboards in just a moment. So for this prospecting visualization, let's go ahead and track how many prospecting visits we've gone on over the last year, and then compare that to the previous year and understand, are we prospecting more than we did the previous year? Maybe there's some seasonality that we can see over that trend line. Maybe there's some things that we can prepare for moving forward. In this instance, let's go ahead and start by trending all of this by the date, right? Like I mentioned, we want to track based off of the months. And so when I click the date as here, again, lots of information. Don't be intimidated. We'll make sure that we navigate this. Let's go ahead and do the interactions created at, because we're tracking when these prospecting visits are actually happening. And let's group it into a month view here. And then we can title all of these custom. So I'll go ahead and do month here. Additionally, I'm going to go ahead and add a filter here as well and filter the time by, let's go the last 12 months. Let's just see this year, and then we'll compare that to the previous year. And I'll go ahead and click apply here. And then now we just need to find a metric that we're gonna, be tracking. Let me go ahead and, rather than scrolling through all of this information, which is could get it confusing, I can go ahead and just search up here in the top. I'm looking for interactions, which I can click here. Whenever you see ID, think of that as just a counting number, and ID will always be associated with all interactions and accounts and everything inside of Outfield. And so we typically use IDs as a way for a counting number. So I'm tracking the number of interactions. So I'm going to track the number of IDs on those interactions here. Now we're going to see that this is going to be computing quite a bit because we have, again, a lot of information that we're bringing in here. So when I click, my two options would be I can add another filter up here at the top, or I can click into this metric and I can even, filter this down specific to this metric even further. If I wanted to do it by a specific date range or an additional attribute filter. So for the filter, maybe let's do something like, I want only my prospecting visits. And, for the team that I have set up, we fill out a prospecting form every time. So I'm going to look up that form title here. As I scroll down, we've got 4 different options. Whenever you see this little question mark to the right, that's going to, when you hover over it, that's going to give you a little bit more information of actually what that is being tied to. So rather than a user title or interaction title, here we see the forms.title, forms here, forms.title. So that's going to be attributing the title of these forms here. So let me click on that, and it's going to prompt me with all of my forms that I have. Now for your teams, right, maybe it's just a couple of the forms. Maybe you have a long list like I'm seeing. Again, rather than scrolling, I'm going to uncheck the all button, and then I'm going to just look up prospect here. Oh, I misspelled it. Here we go. Perfect. And so we have a few different options here. I'm just going to click all 5 of my prospecting forms and click apply. And now we're going to see a visualization here, right? These are all of the prospecting visits that my teams have gone on here. To the left, right, we're seeing count of ID title. That looks a little confusing. Again, whenever you're clicking on a field that is in your visualization, you can rename that. So let's go and do prospecting visits. Now that's going to make a little bit more sense for us at this point. So from here, right, we've got a month-to-month view. We're understanding the amount of prospecting visits we're going on. That's all great. But additionally, I want to see what this year has been like compared to last year and understand how are we growing or how are we regressing. So here in this filter, when I click on here towards the bottom, we can see compare the period with. So now I can compare a previous period. I'm going to do the same period previous year here. When I click that and apply, now we're going to see 2 different lines appear on our graph. And now we can get some of those additional insights here. Before that loads or as it loads, we can also go down into this configuration section and get a little bit more custom with what we're looking at. Maybe if we want to adjust the, colors, maybe I don't like blue and I want to, make that, more specific to maybe my team colors, you can do so here. Let me click into this canvas I apologize for the loading issues here. Hopefully this tends to speed up here in just a second. All right. Well, that since that's not working, we can go ahead and do this. Like I said, we can do colors, right? So if we want to change that, I could even customize this color. Let's go with green for no specific reason. You can change the interactions and things like that and alerts. So you can get really specific and custom in terms of these visualizations that we're looking at. Let me try one more time here and see if we can compare it with the same previous year. Here we go. Okay, perfect. So now we're seeing this little dark or this little faded green line as well. And this is last year's prospecting visits. And so I'm going to go ahead and just click save here. And we can see this information comparatively, right? So we're getting really, really specific and granular, exactly what I said I wanted. I'm able to do that here. Additionally, you can change the format of the layout of everything. We can make things bigger or smaller. We can add titles to all of this. So we can, prospecting visits. Maybe I have some other visualizations. What are the responses on my prospecting visits? I can add some of those additionally below here as well. Tim, so your question in terms of the saved visualizations, here's where, this is kind of a list view of everything that you've created. You can also search or you can click all, and I can go through here. From here, if I want to go ahead and actually bring it out here, I can basically click, drag, drop, and then that's going to fill in that information for me directly from the saved visuals. And then you can go in here and edit further. So if this isn't specific to how I want it now, I can go ahead and change that information. I would just save it as a new visualization. Does that help answer your question, Tim? Okay, I see. Okay, well then give me one more minute, then we'll get to that question after. Just wanted to get into the other different types of information that we can input here on the editing screen, and then I'll definitely go back to the dashboards page as well. Another option or item that we can add to our dashboard is going to be the filters option. When I go here and click add, again, this is going to take all of our different data points and I can filter it by. So maybe I want to do something like, let's do username, right? Or maybe a different team name, right? Maybe I have a few different teams on my Outfield instance. I can do that. I would do name here. And then again, you just have to navigate through this little question mark. It's all alphabetic. So here we can see the organizations are tied to this. I can click that and then filter again all of my information based off of this filter as well. A visualization switcher, I won't get too much into the details here. It's kind of exactly what it sounds like. When you put that over into your dashboard, you can actually have 2 or 3 or even 4 visuals layered on top of one another, and then you'd be able to switch between the 2 or 3 or however many you have. A great way to utilize visualization switchers is maybe I have the same report for all of my different reps. I want to see a specific number of check-ins or types of responses. You would be able to set up all of those separate visuals for each rep and then basically combine them all into one section where you can click through the different reps and see the entire visual specific to them. So it allows you to, save space, make things look a little simpler on the page that you're looking at. Additionally, we have rich text, which will basically give you the ability to add some additional text fields. You can even do some, light coding in there as well, if that interests you on that front as well. So that is, all of the different items that we can bring into ISO Intel, a lot of different ways that we can leverage these filters. You could also save different views. So when I click save here, as I scroll down right, we can see that prospecting visual that we just created as well. If I want to save a view, right, maybe I want to have a yearly view as well as, a weekly or, monthly view. I can do this here. Let's just go ahead and do yearly, set as my default. And then I can go ahead and change this. So maybe I want to look at just the last 7 days and that information of what we're doing on a weekly basis. Then I can go in here and create an additional saved view. And so now moving forward, rather than going through and adjusting these every time, I can go over here, click my view. Now I want to look weekly, and it's going to adjust all of that. And you can do that for any of these different filters. It doesn't have to just be the time filters as well. Okay, since we're at this page, I'll take a pause here and see if I'm able to answer Tim's question here. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so Tim, your question in terms of the dashboards, what you're talking about here is what I discussed at the beginning of this call, which is going to be this dashboards page. This is separate from our ISO Intel extension. And so this is the dashboards that you can create just in Outfield currently. If you're interested in having something more a little bit custom, you can get into this ISO Intel, space where you can add these types of dashboards and custom visualizations on top of that. Awesome. I'll pause here as we're, kind of getting towards the end of this session. Any other new questions? Anything that you're seeing that, you'd like to, maybe you were expecting or would like to see as well? Okay. Well, awesome. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions. Tim, hopefully you saw my response to you. Well, sweet. Well, from here, I appreciate everyone's time today. Hopefully we learned a little bit more about the reporting and analytics tools that Outfield has to offer, where, you can take all of the information that is being logged into Outfield and then take it to, provide those insights and understandings that, can leave an impact for your team. If you have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to your account managers. If you'd like to, explore what these could look like or how to apply them to your business, we'd be happy to assist in those conversations moving forward. So with that, I appreciate all of your time. I hope you have a great rest of your weeks, and we will hopefully talk soon.